Guys, before I get started, if you want to win a Sweet Peach palette, then you need to go and check out the description box below. The very first link will take you to a blog post that is related to winning one of these. Follow the Rafflecopter widget, enter all the things. You could be in the draw to win one. Okay, video time. Let's go. Hello all my beautiful sisters from those other misters. Today I'm filming a review for the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. This was released ages ago in the States, but very recently in Australia. We take a long time to get things, so we are very behind the times. This is available at Mecca Maxima stores nationwide. It retails for 72 Australian dollars. You can also purchase it on the Mecca website. They might be sold out. I don't know. By the time this goes up, there's a good chance they're sold out. This was supposed to be a limited edition palette. Jared Blandino got on Instagram and said that the overwhelming response to this palette means that they are going to make it available again. I heard it will possibly be a Christmas re-release. I don't know if that's factual. That's just what I heard on the grapevine. So I picked this palette up because I collect the larger Too Faced palettes. Anything in a tin that is large and not the little smaller ones, which are just over half the size of these big ones. I collect them, so it didn't matter what it was, I was going to purchase it. This palette is similar to the chocolate bar palettes in the fact that it is in a tin case. It does have a magnetic closure. There is a mirror on the inside. I'll try not to blind you. But then things start to change. Instead of having large pans in the palette, usually there's a large one on the top right and the bottom left, I believe it is. Now it's simply 18 small shadow pans. I love that. Thank God. I am over the moon about that change. Another thing, it smells like peaches and not like chocolate. I cannot even begin to tell you how excited that makes me. And hearing that this smells like peaches, I was like, honey, I'm gonna buy it. I don't care what it looks like. So I did. And I'm not sad that I bought it, but I will tell you right now, I'm not jumping over the moon about this palette either. It does, I need to talk about the smell because it's just like, you can smell it through the box. In the shop, when I went and bought this, I was like, oh my God, I can smell it. It does not smell like peach fruit. If you go and buy a peach and you bite it or cut it open and smell it, it doesn't smell like that. It smells kind of like a peach perfume, if that makes sense. I don't think it smells like peach candy, not the type of peach candy that we would have in Australia, which is actually quite rare, but I have had some. It's more kind of sweet and floral, if that makes sense, with a peach, like a heavy peach tone to it. It's not unpleasant. I really like the scent, and I'm going to say right now, I think the scent is my favorite thing about this palette. Alright, I'm going to get on to the not so good stuff, and the not so good stuff is eyeshadows. When I was swatching this palette and taking photos of it, I was a bit excited. I was like, wow, a lot of these have beautiful pigmentation. There weren't many that I had to like double swatch to actually get to show up on my skin. The colours looked interesting. They all seemed to have something a little bit different going for them. And while there were a few browns in the palette, I felt like all of the browns were different, and they all had their own sort of speciality to them, I suppose. Then I went ahead and I actually used the palette on my eyes, and that's when I went, wow, everything's brown. The first time I used the palette, I went in with Nectar, which is this shade here. It's like a shimmery sort of yellow with like a goldiness to it. I used Bellini, which is like a sort of light dusty rose with a beautiful gold reflex. I used Summer Yum in my crease and just to sort of smoke it out and warm it up. And then I took Peach Pit, which is like a burnt plum, and I put that more focused in the crease just to deepen it up a little bit. And you only really noticed it when I closed my eyes. When I had completed the look and I looked at myself, I was like, wow, it literally looks like I took caramelized and just put it all over my eyelid and then blended it out into the crease. That's what it looked like. It looked like one color. It didn't really have any depth or dimension. It just looked like a shimmery eyeshadow that was reflecting light and didn't really have any like real depth or excitement to it. The next time I used the palette, I thought, alright, we've got to change things up. So I used Peaches and Cream on the inner corner. It's like, as you can see, it's a yellowy sort of cream color and it's got a matte finish. Then I used Luscious on the mobile lid. It's like a pinky taupe. It's quite light. It's got a lot of light reflect, which makes it look even lighter. It's a pretty color and it does have nice payoff. Then I went into the crease with Charmed I'm Sure. Now, Charmed I'm Sure is actually kind of surprised me. It goes on darker than it looks in the palette, which I did like. And then I used Delectable, which is more, it's a dark purple, but it's kind of got a vibrancy to it. And I concentrated that sort of on the very outer corner and in the crease. And that was just to give it extra dimension, basically. Basically, what I was left with was like light brown and dark brown. There wasn't really any real definition of color, even when I felt like I was using lots of different shades of the spectrum. So today when I did my makeup for this video, I thought, okay, what the fuck am I going to do with this palette, because everything is brown. I used Luscious on the inner corner and I used Bless Her Heart on the mobile lid. Then I used Puree to warm up the crease and give it a little smoke on the edges, and I put Charmed I'm Sure into the outer corner and deep in the crease just to give it more definition. And I went with Charmed I'm Sure and Puree, which I had used in the past, and I knew what they were going to do, but I really felt like they were the only sort of matte browns that you can really wear. Summer Yum does work. It's very beautiful, but it's extremely warm and it gives off like a reddish sort of like a reddish orange tint, and because I was using a green on my eyes, I was like, we don't use like red tones and green tones in the same eye look, because it will just make it look flat and brown, which I was trying to avoid. Now, I did get some color definition, definitely with this look. I don't know how well you guys will see it. To me, on my eyes, I see like basically pink, green, brown. So, okay, I finally hit the mark with the color definition, which I was going for, but it really does look like I went out into the garden and found some like grass and dirt and a pink flower and rubbed them on my face. The tones are extremely earthy. Now, the reason I avoided using the two main pinks in the palette is because I'm so sick of seeing pinks in eyeshadow palettes. Just stop it. We just had the Bonbons palette and the pinks in that are difficult to use. And I just don't... Why? Why you do this to us? I don't want no pink anymore. This palette, it just confuses me. Like, I know it's inspired by peaches. I get that. It's called Sweet Peach. It smells like peaches. Peach is repeated multiple times over the shade names. I'm also educated enough to know that there is some southern inspiration going on here with shades like Bless Her Heart, Charmed I'm Sure, Talk Derby to Me, and the most obvious one, Georgia. But for someone who hasn't been to America, who hasn't experienced any southern states, personally, the extent of my knowledge is stuff I've seen on TV or in movies, which you can't always trust, and what I learnt in like high school and primary school. I feel like this palette is trying to tell a story, but it's in a language that I don't understand, basically. If this was all about peaches and it was all obviously about the fruit, you would be able to tell, but there's other undertones going on here. I don't get them because the story hasn't been portrayed clearly enough, which is sad. I also feel like instead of making this, which they always do, and I have no idea why they do it, it's a waste of paper. They totally could have used this to tell like the Georgia peach story. They could have told a story about every single shade in here to help you understand why they were inspired to create these shades. Now, if you think I'm reading into this palette too much and I should just take it at face value, a peach inspired palette, then I will do that and I will give you my opinion as well. I don't know why they think that they can call this a sweet peach palette. There's like maybe 3 shades in here that are peach inspired, the rest are brown, and it's basically just another chocolate bar palette that smells like peaches instead of chocolate, and they did a bad job. Alright, so now you basically know what I think about the palette. I'm going to do some swatches and show you what the shades look like. Alright, swatches. So we're going top row, left to right. We've got white peach, luscious, and just peachy. So we've got a matte. It is matte white. This is sort of like, it's kind of like a golden rose. It's very shimmery. It is a gorgeous shade, very nice pigmentation. Just peachy is, it's pink with a gold shift. Not that you're able to see it, but it is there. Next up we've got Bless Her Heart, which is, you can see there, it's a little bit chunky. It's kind of like a dirty green with a gold sort of reflect to it. You've got Tempting next, which is like, it's black with gold. There's tiny bit of black in there. I kind of wish it wasn't in there. It's just like, it's so been done. And then you've got Charmed, I'm Sure, which is, it's a matte shade, and you can see it doesn't really, I mean, the color is there, but it's not great with the whole blending thing. I definitely recommend putting that over like a set base to help it blend out. Otherwise you're going to get that whole like sort of sticking to the skin thing going on. As you can see there, it doesn't blend really well. Alright, we're going to go second row. We've got Nectar, which is like it is a peachy yellow. I quite like it. It's sort of like a satin with a bit of a matteness to it. It's nice, but it can be kind of hard to integrate into looks with this palette. Next up we've got Cobbler. This is kind of, again, it's a little bit kind of rosy gold with a sort of taupiness to it. It's warmer. It is very pretty. I do like that shade. And then we've got Candied Peach, which is just, God, what even is that? That is literally like the only peach shade in there. It's got this really vibrant pink glitter, and the pigmentation is just like, what even is that? Let's give it a second swatch because you can't even see it there. There we go. How's that? No? Not really? Yeah. Alright, then we have Bellini. Now this is gorgeous. It's, again, it's like a rose goldish colour. It's sort of like a more on the pink side. There is a bit of a dustiness to it, and there's a gold sort of reflect underneath it. the color payoff on the eye is really, really bad. Next up, we've got Peach Pit, which is like a blackened plum. Nice shade, but when it's mixed in with, like, if it's near other brown shades on the eye, it just looks brown. You don't really get that plummy look from it. And then we've got Delectable, which is, oh yes. Alright, let's watch that one again. It's pretty sad looking. Yes, yep. It looks like a matte, but there is some like glitter in there. It's not so exciting. And for the last row, we have Peaches and Cream, which is like a yellowy, sort of apricot-y, light matte color. We've got Georgia, which is sort of like a dirty pink, and yeah, great pigmentation. Yeah, you can see there, it's just, it looks more, I don't know, it's got more of a graziness in the pan, but on the skin it's just a bit sad. And then we've got Caramelized, which, dead set guys, this is a gorgeous color. It's caught on my skin a little bit there, but it's like a beautiful sort of bronzy, warm, caramelly brown, as you would expect it to be. Alright, last few shades on that last row. We've got Puree, which is like a, it's just matte brown. You've got Summer Yum, which has a bit more of a brick red tone to it. It doesn't swatch well. I'll just get a second swatch in there. It's not bad. It is nice. I do like it in the crease, but it just makes everything look really kind of brown. And finally, we've got Talk Derby to Me, which is, it's kind of like a blackened purple. On the skin, it just kind of looks like black with purple glitter in it. And you can see, like, once it catches on the skin, it doesn't blend well. So you really need, I mean, look at how hard I'm rubbing that. You're not going to do that with a brush. And you can see it does sort of skip on the skin. It really needs like a smooth base, smooth powdered base to blend out on, otherwise it just looks rubbish. Alright, so now you guys have seen the swatches, I feel like I just kind of want to round it up a little bit. I don't hate the palette, I just think it's a little bit confused, and it's just like another chocolate bar palette to me. I don't feel like Too Faced can get away from doing the same thing. To me, it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of imagination going on, if you know what I'm saying. A lot of the brown shades are really, really gorgeous. They do have beautiful pigmentation. Many of them that, like the mattes that I showed you, they kind of stick and they skip. If you know how to work with them anyway, like, you know, blending them out on a powdered base, they work beautifully, don't get me wrong. You just, if you're new to makeup and you try and go in with that palette and you don't know what you're doing, you might have some troubles. But if you're quite well versed on how to apply makeup, you won't have any problems. Alright guys, so that's it for the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette review. There will be a related blog post down below. Check it out if you feel like it. If you have purchased this palette, let me know what you think about it. If you haven't purchased it and you have a specific reason why, let me know why. I'll be very interested to know if something turned you off about this palette. It's, you know, it's funny, every time Too Faced bring out a palette now, I like them just a little bit less, and I think maybe that's because I'm expecting them to like do something different, and it always feels the same. Now don't get me wrong, I'm happy to own the palette. Yes, I was a bit, you know, critical of it, but I think that's valid. You know, I purchased it with my own money. I am allowed to be critical of it. I am not going to return it. I am happy to own it. I want to add it to my collection, and I like the way it smells. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and until next time, Bye!